Now when I start screw cutting, when I start feeding down into the workpiece, I always advance the compound ever so slightly, half a thou or even less for each cut, and this enables the tool to cut on one side and allows a better finish, and there's less risk of digging in. Now when I get to the near the final depth, probably 5 or 6 thou, I just start feeding directly in, and I find this works very well. And again, I've used this method for many years, and it's always been successful. Even normal screw cutting, I don't scribble the compound round to the angle which half the angle of what the thread should be. I just leave it straight and just feed it ever so slightly, as I say, with the compound. So now you can see if I get screw cutting in the conventional way, when I get to the end of the length of thread, I just withdraw it. The only thing to remember is that it's to wind the cross slide away instead of towards you when you're doing it in the conventional manner. Otherwise, if you forget, you're going to dig straight into the thread. Now when I get a little bit deeper with the thread, I'll start feeding in ever so slightly with the compound. Now here you can see with me just advancing the compound ever so slightly, the tool is cutting on one side, and it makes a nice clean cut. Now whilst I was doing this job, I noticed that my lathe was starting to make a lot of noise. It's not normally as noisy as this, and I later did find out the cause. Right, we shall try the nut. A little bit of bounce. I think that's due to the fixture, but it seems to be doing it okay. Yeah, a bit more. A couple of more light cuts should do that. Well, just a wee bit tight. Let's get in there a little bit more. my lathe has got very noisy. I just can't understand what's going on there. There's something. I think there's something amiss. I'm going to have to investigate, I think.
Well, it's nearly there. It's just a little bit on the tight side towards the chuck. Tight towards the chuck side. Now I could chase that, and I think that might be probably the best thing to do, really, under the circumstance. It's just not taking off. The tool is blunt, and I don't really want to try and pick up on the thread. I think the easiest is just to get a chaser and just clean up the thread, and that's what I'm going to do. Don't really like doing that, but I think that will be the best way. Well, I don't often use chasers, but they are very handy, and they can make life a lot easier when you're doing screw threads.
I really need to be careful when chasing anything sticking out like this, because you tend to push the job away from you. I really should have the centre in.
Right, that's the lick of the chaser. This is really very tough material. Really tough. It's a lot tougher than the one I did last time. We don't want this too slack, but that's a lot better now. That's behaving itself. Yeah, that will do. Right, that will do for that end, hopefully.
Well, it doesn't look too bad. It turned out quite good, is it? Satisfied with it. Just apart from having to get the chaser on it, but it's done the job, and it looks clean. Call that job done. Now for the next one.
Well, with the left hand section finished, I'm on with the standard right hand one now. This should be straightforward without any problems, hopefully. As mentioned before, it's very tough, is this, and I resharpened the tool, so we'll see how we go. This is basically the same, but just the opposite hand. Here we go. And again, I do the same thing. I withdraw before the end because I don't like having a groove, a clearance groove in the screw. Especially, as I mentioned before, this is a brake rod, and with any kind of a groove would tend to weaken it. Now this is cutting more efficiently, and it's more rigid, is this setup, than the previous one where it was held in that jig. We're getting a lot smoother cut.
Now, there's definitely something wrong with this lathe. I don't know what's going on. The threading tool now seems to be cutting more on one side and starting to dig in. It seems to be getting out of pitch. I'm going to have to investigate. Well, I found the culprit, which is causing the noise. And this gear wheel is partially engaged with the pinion on the tumbler reverse there, and it's just starting to slip, and that's why I'm getting a slight pitch variation when I'm trying to cut the thread. For some reason I haven't tightened the banjo up properly. The nut mustn't have been tightened. I'm lucky really, I've got away with it. I could have damaged the thread if it had completely disengaged. The thread would have been ruined and probably the job. This is the trouble with the gear trains. I don't have a gearbox on this machine, and this is what you've got to be careful of.
Well, that's definitely sounding much better now. The problem is now I will have to pick up on the thread. And that slip of the gear has actually slightly damaged the front bit of the thread, although I don't think that will make any difference. And now we have to pick up the pitch.
Well, it's just a matter now of adjusting it with the cross slide and the compound till you get till it follows the actual form, and then it's just a matter of feeding in again, and that will pick up the thread. Hopefully, there's still a bit to take off, so it shouldn't make it a problem. Well, that's screwing on okay without any problem. It's just slightly tight towards the chuck end, but that's okay. That will do. We don't want it too slack on the shaft, with it being a brake shaft. We don't want it rattling about.
Looking okay.
And that's just about right, and that will do for that job. Now, when I was cutting the left-hand thread, I had problems there getting the tool to properly cut towards the chuck, and I'm just wondering if this was the reason why the gear not being right.
It's a tiny little mark. Well, that's not going to make any difference whatsoever, and that was due to the banjo coming loose on the gear.
Now I'm just running the file over the board just to take any slight burr off. Now ideally you should really be using the throwaway tips, the thread form type. When you're doing screw threads, it can be quicker and leave a lot better finish. It's something I don't use. I just grind my own. I've always ground my own tools. The only throwaway tip tool I have is my Iscar parting off tool. But for years I've ground my own, made my own up using some tips I have and some special silver solder foil for brazing them to the shanks.
I don't use throwaway tip tools. I make my own. I've made my own for years. Quite a few tips. They serve me well. I've used these for years, and even when I was employed in the engineering, in the tool room, we used to make our own tools. Of course, a lot bigger than these, but we used to make them to suit our needs. Of course, we did use throwaway tips as well. Like this job, cutting this thread, the screw cutting inserts really are ideal for this sort of work, and I think I might invest in one of those. I find what I've seen of them, they're very good. Never used them in when I was in engineering, strangely enough. We used to grind our own, like I've done there. But I think tip tool, the throwaway tips, are ideal for anybody just starting out. There's a lot of messing about making your own tools if you haven't got the materials. I mean, I have plenty of tips. I've got the silver solder foil, special foil, which is used to braze these tips onto shanks. And also I've got decent diamond wheels. Now, trying to grind tips on just ordinary green grit wheels, which a lot of people do, is really hard work, and you can't get the finish. You really do need a diamond wheel to finish tip tools off. You just cannot get the finish. But yeah, so
now here's some tips which I've made. This is just a general turning tool, what I use quite a lot. There's another one, all diamond ground. You can't really grind them on green grit wheels properly. You do need diamond wheels. Here's one that's ready for re-tipping. This is one in the rough, which has not been ground. That'll be done sometime later when needed. And this is one with an angle and a slight radius for a special job. Another special radius tool here for a special job.
now this is the Iscar parting blade, which I use on my small lathe. I've had to make an adapter to allow it to get to correct centre height, and them are the small tips. Now these are amazing parting blades. You can really get through materials with these with a lot of confidence, and I'm lucky to have a good supply of tips. I got these at a bargain price, and they'll last me for I don't know how long. I'll never ever get through all these, the amount of parting off I do. But they're brilliant. I believe they're made in Israel. Iscar, yeah. Well, the tips are all made in Israel, so I'm assuming the blade is. But they're amazing, and they really do cut through steel without a lot of effort. And there's a spare blade I have. If you can see the Iscar door grip, and there's a special extractor tool there for taking the tip out, and that fits in there like that, and then you just turn it and the tip comes out. Very easy, and also the tips are reversible. You've got two ends. And there's another one which I have. I don't think this is as good as this model. It's made again by Iscar, but they use a bigger tip. These tips are a bit different. They're quite good, but I really prefer these any day. And I've found also with these that you can actually turn as a turning tool with these. But I do have some blades, I believe. Yes, I have some spare blades as well, so I'm never ever going to run out of parting tools, I don't think. I'm not sure what the prices are now on these. I would imagine they're quite expensive, but there is Chinese copies, I believe, what you can get. Whether they're as good, I don't know, but they're absolutely amazing. The next job now is to finish this and a couple of lock nuts. Well, I'm just about to finish off this this nut now. I'm just going to put mill two flats to take this 3/16 spanner, and that will finish the job. But also the two nuts, they're ready to go on. I'm just going to put this now in the milling machine in my other dividing head, which I made up, which is actually a rotary table, but I did that in a previous video if you're interested in that. So that will now go in, and we'll get two flats milled on it. Well, I'm just now milling the two spanner flats across this centre part of this nut, and that will enable adjustment of the brake shaft. Well, I've milled two decent flats now for the spanner. We don't want it too tight, we don't want it too slack. I think that should do for my mate. Now, I've done these flats on this modified rotary table, which I've had for a few years now. It was very poor when I bought it, and I had lots of trouble, and I stripped it down and did all sorts with it, and it's in one of my previous videos if you're interested. But I bought a kit from RDG which converts it into a dividing head, and it's turned out quite well. You get the plates, the handle, and the sector, and other bits and pieces, and it does work quite well, and it's quite accurate, and it probably works out a lot cheaper than a proper dividing head. Now, I do have a proper dividing head which I do use a lot, and I think it's probably a lot more accurate than this, although this does seem to do the work, the indexing, quite well. I've had no problems with it, and it's a lot lighter. My proper dividing head, as I say, is very heavy. Now, this is the box what you get the kit in for the conversion. You've got a set of 3 plates, and they're quite good quality as well. So if you're after a cheap dividing head and you've already got a rotary table, I'd be thinking about getting one of these kits. They're very good. Well, a couple of days later, my mate picked up his brake rod for his bike and went ahead and fitted it, and he said that it fit perfect first time. So, job done. Well, I hope you found this video of interest, and once again, thank you for watching.